A very good evening and welcome to the 8 p.m. news broadcast brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Nondobego Nzapkelwago and I am together with Nomakabiso Ngambule. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Her Majesty the Queen Mother is back home. The Deputy Prime Minister has explained why the elderly were removed from the COVID-19 food relief program. The Minister of Agriculture has assured farmers that government is working on establishing an agriculture fund. The news in detail. Her Majesty the Queen Mother has returned back home. Her Majesty was in the Republic of Mozambique to strengthen bilateral relations between the Kingdom of Eswatini and that country.
Her Majesty the Queen Mother landed at the Matapa International Airport following her trip to the Republic of Mozambique. Her Majesty the Queen Mother was in Mozambique to strengthen the long-standing bilateral relations between the two countries, which began so many years ago. Apart from being neighbors, the countries are both member states of a number of organizations. They also have agreements in trade and in various sectors. To welcome Her Majesty back at the airport, to His Majesty King Mswati III, their Royal Highnesses, the Princes and the Princesses, Bokoko Badlondolozi, the Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Tabiso Dlamini in Matapa.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Themba Masuku, says government took the decision to remove elderly people from the COVID-19 financial support beneficiaries because she wanted more people to benefit from the relief fund. Masuku said this when responding to a question by Mbolonjeni Member of Parliament Jacob Siwela, who wanted to know reasons behind government's move.
Mbolonjeni Member of Parliament Jacob Siwela requested the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku to give clarity to the House of Assembly as to why were some elderly people removed from the COVID-19 financial support beneficiaries. Responding to the question, which was on the order paper, the Deputy Prime Minister says government took the decision as a one way to reach out to more people who were affected by COVID-19 outbreak, as elderly people are already receiving elderly grants.
Benefita in my households headed by chronically ill persons. Sapinze sabuwa with child-headed families. Who have lost income yabo temporarily ngoba kwavala nemafem kususwa kune lockdown lenta ukuthi abantu abathengisa emarket nalamanye ma sources of income angabe asaba khona. Sasibukele nema households lapha kunebantwana khona laba below 5 years mhlambe la kulahleke khona i-income. Nalapha kwakunalabanye mhlambe labe batethwele labe basebenza sebabonakala ukuthi sevalwe lemisebenzi abasakhona njalo sengibekisile ukuthi kuyohlala etimakethe bathengise khona. Lapha-ke mase sikwendile konke lokhu sathola sifuna 301,762 walabo bantu le sasingabasida ngaloko lesicabanga ukuthi sasithathola ehlotsheni mhlambe nakuye uhulumende. Nakwenteka lokho kwasekungena abantu the-elderly kanti elderly le grant yabo beyivele khona kunebantu labalahlekelwa ngale income. The elderly beyithola le mali.
At the time of compiling the report, members of parliament were yet to ask more questions from the Deputy Prime Minister regarding the matter. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Parliament.
German consular Liesl Topfer says she is happy that funds that were donated by the German embassy in Eswatini to construct a dip tank at Gandinda were utilized accordingly. She said this during a tour of the newly built dip tank at Gandinda and Ndondozi constituency.
The German embassy in Eswatini supported the construction of a deep tank project at Gandinda with funds amounting to 172,000 malangeni after it received a request for assistance from the Ndondozi constituency last year. The request was finalized end of May this year and the project commenced then. The Minister of Tourism, who is also a Ndondozi Member of Parliament, Moses Vilagati, and the German consular Liesl Topfer toured the project for an inspection to check if indeed the money was used for its purpose. The minister says the German embassy has financed many other big projects under this constituency and he is grateful. He adds on to say this is a milestone for Ndondozi farmers because the fencing of the deep tank was old and their cattle many times strayed away. Therefore, they are grateful to the German embassy for this financial support.
Akuvamisile ukuthi ama projects angaba mabidlana bemathashwana enkundleni kungako sitibongela kakhulu la kuye lebe kakutele utobuka ukuthi vele le mali isebenze kahle yini.
German consular Liesl Topfer says this is one of the projects the embassy runs under its Micro Projects Development Fund and she is happy that the money was utilized for its purpose.
Extremely happy to see that the funds that were provided have been utilized to its full and for the purpose that they were designed to be used. And the first time I came here, there was absolutely nothing here. So this dip tank, it's really come to something and I'm very glad to see.
Vice Chairperson of the Sichegu Deep Tank, Mandla Mabuza, says they are honored as a committee for this assistance because cattle now deep safely. He says the previous deep tank was very old and it had become very dangerous for the cattle. He says this is good news to farmers as this modern dipping tank gives them an assurance that their cattle are safe. Reporting, I'm Lungelele Makakula with Mwatube at Gandinda.
The House of Assembly has passed a motion that the Minister of Finance, Neil Reckenberg, within 7 days should implement a comprehensive waiver of penalties and interest on all debt for taxpayers by shifting the deadline for ERA guidelines on all debt for all types excluding customs duties from the end of September 2020 to the 31st of March 2021.
After seeing the negative impact on the country's economy, government through the Eswatini Revenue Authority implemented a comprehensive waiver of penalties and interest on all debt for taxpayers to September this year. Mfongane, Member of Parliament Roy van Rakis, moved that within 7 days, government through Eswatini Revenue Authority should extend the comprehensive waiver of penalties and interest on all debts to March 2021. The motion, which was passed by the House of Assembly, was moved by Mfongane, Member of Parliament, and he was seconded by Madlangempisi, Member of Parliament Spusiso Nxumalo. The members of Parliament says Eswatini Revenue Authority should continue to collect customs.
Akufana nje ekuqaleni umlomo lokubambisa lamabhizinisi angasebenzi ngokugcwala umsebenzi wabo. Mr. Speaker, there are reasons, there are lots of small companies that at the moment will not be able to pay for the sole reasons is that they're not at full capacity. Most of the restrictions are only now being taken away.
Nakuqala le COVID, kuqale kwaba lama infections. Lama infections akhatha ema-labor from their workplaces, ukuthi abantu bohlala ekhaya. Angakhona emabhizinisi kufulfill ama-orders lebakhona at swing. Kwase kuphatha yonke le supply kwa-affecta yonke nale cash flow. Bosomabhizinisi-ke Mr Speaker bacele ukuthi abafuni umbaleke na-15% lo charge wabo-VAT.
Minister of Finance Neil Rickenback says the extension of the waiver to March next year will have a negative impact on the already ailing economy.
So which means the problem is with using some kind of blanket method to say don't pay tax or there's no penalties with interest till the end of the year. It would mean all the companies Eswatini hold on to their tax money because now there's no penalties until end of December and we get zero tax from the moment this is passed until whenever this ends, end of December. Every company is going to hold on to their taxation.
Members of Parliament agreed that despite the ailing economy, government should be lenient on the business people as things are not yet back to normal. The MPs hope that by March next year, business will be doing much better. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Parliament.
The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, has assured farmers that government is working on establishing an agriculture fund whose main function will be to assist farmers facing challenges of meeting financing requirements required by financial institutions, including banks. The minister was speaking when officially addressing delegates participating in the 2020 Eswatini National Agricultural Union Policy Conference, which was held at the Happy Valley Hotel in Zulwini.
The 2020 edition of the Eswatini National Agriculture Union Policy Conference was held under the theme Farmers' Contribution to Economic Growth. However, the union's president, Boy Mate, says many farmers in Eswatini are still unable to effectively contribute to the kingdom's economic development owing to a host of existing challenges, including lack of access to funding. Farmers also complain of the consistent lack of farm inputs in local agro dealerships, as well as inconsistent market prices for locally produced products. Responding to some of these concerns, the Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, made an assurance that government is already working on establishing the Agriculture Fund, which is one of many interventions aimed at providing relief for farmers. The minister explained that through this fund, farmers will, for instance, receive funding for basic infrastructure to start their businesses so they can be in a position to meet the refinancing requirements that banks and other financiers look out for. The minister further urged farmers to work out sustainable solutions on how Eswatini can produce enough food for itself.
It has really taken too long. Basic commodities like maize. It's unbelievable that we are still bringing some of our maize from outside the country. Really, this disturbs me and it gives me sleepless nights because we need to produce for ourselves and not in the future, but it has to happen now.
Meanwhile, European Union Ambassador to Eswatini Esmeralda Hernandez urged the Agriculture Union to ensure that it has a significant representation of women and youth in its membership, and especially in the union's decision-making structures. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengwendlof with Muzim Konda, it's Ezulwini.
The Minister for Public Service, Christian Njangase, says government will continue to support HIV-positive civil servants. The minister was speaking during the candle lighting ceremony in remembrance of those who have died due to HIV and AIDS, which is a build-up to World AIDS Day.
The theme for this year's World AIDS Day says shared responsibility, which means together we can eliminate AIDS by 2020. Speaking when remembering all civil servants who succumbed to AIDS in the Kingdom of Eswatini, the Minister for Public Service, Christian Njangase, says government will continue to support all civil servants who are living with AIDS.
We wish to remind and also encourage those infected that they should continue taking treatment as prescribed by medical practitioners, as we are all witnesses that treatment has drastically reduced the mortality rate as a result of HIV and AIDS and has greatly improved the lives of many. Those affected should be provided with psychosocial and material support. We also wish to tell them that we love them and that we are all together in the fight against this scourge. Civil servants and the nation should remember that no one is immune from contracting this deadly virus. Hence, we advise everyone to adhere to precautions given by the Ministry of Health in order to protect ourselves against the virus and also prevent it from spreading.
The minister applauded all organizations in the kingdom who are assisting government in the fight against HIV. The World AIDS Day will be commemorated on the 1st of December 2020, and the Prime Minister is expected to address the nation. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Lincoln Kule in Babane.
Mkoqisi Dlamini from Mahlangaja in the Manzini region has been crowned the 2020 National Maize Farmer of the Year. Dlamini was announced winner of this year's competition in an event held at the Eswatini Lodge, where the Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, urged banks and other financiers to ensure that farmers get all the required access to finance.
The National Maize Competition, hosted by the National Maize Corporation (NMC), is held every year with the aim of encouraging local maize farmers to increase their production, as Eswatini still imports over 50,000 metric tons of maize from outside the country. Speaking at this year's awards ceremony held at Eswatini Lodge, the Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, urged farmers to make use of government's offer of leasing out idle farms to local farmers.
Purely for making commercial business.
The minister warns that terms and conditions in the leasing out of government farms still apply. As for instance, farmers who want to lease such farms for small-scale subsistence production definitely don't make the cut. Eswatini Bank Managing Director Zakhele Lukele encouraged farmers to present strong business plans when requesting for funding. He warns that without a strong business plan, farmers risk their funding requests being rejected. This year's winner, Mkoqisi Dlamini, thanked the National Maize Corporation for ensuring that those participating in this competition travel to neighboring countries just to witness how big players in the maize industry sustain their businesses.
La sihlangene khona nema-farmers lamakhulu lokungiwo lasele sikhona ukukhicita noma senyuse umkhicito wethu.
Runners-up in this competition were Allen Mazibuko and Sipho Dlamini of Kadlovunga in the Shiselweni region. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu, visuals were sourced from the Ministry of Agriculture.
The ICT Portfolio Committee gathered on Wednesday to validate 3 bills, namely Data Protection Bill, the Computer and Cybercrime, and the Electronic Transaction Bill, before being tabled in Parliament. The chairperson of the committee, Makford Sibanze, says these bills will play a crucial role in protecting people's personal information.
The 3 bills were introduced by the Minister of ICT to protect citizens from disloyal elements. The first bill is the data protection, which will ensure the safety of people's personal information. The second one being the computer and cybercrime, which will deal with issues such as pornography, trafficking, and cyberbullying. And the last one being the electronic transactions, where people will be protected when purchasing online. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Makford Sibanze, says As a committee, they have validated the bills and feel they are crucial and they should be passed into laws.
Today, there is no law where you can be charged when you do cyberbullying and when you do cyber trafficking. And the other one, which is about electronic transmission, it's good because it befits the digital space that we are in, whereby you can do your online shopping and all that. And now, at least when you do that, you'll find that you've got an opportunity, even as a customer, to say, no, this is not what I ordered. And within a period of 7 days, you can make a plan of either being refunded or maybe getting the real product that you wanted.
The bills have been tabled in Parliament and they will be debated next week. Reporting, I'm Lungwelele Makakula with Mbawatube, Zulwini.
The Taiwan Embassy on Wednesday visited the Kubuta constituency, where they donated over 100 food hampers to 13 care centers under the constituency. The representative of the ambassador of Taiwan, Oliver Hahn, says it is the good relationship that Taiwan and Eswatini have that drives them to continue reaching out to communities.
The Taiwan Embassy on Wednesday donated 40 bags of 40 kg rice, 40 milli-meal bags of 40 kg, 45-liter sanitizers and 40 food hampers comprising of cooking oil and beans to 13 care centers under the Kubuta constituency. The representative of the ambassador of Taiwan, Oliver Hahn, says following learning that Kubuta is amongst the places that were hit by starvation as a result of the outbreak of the COVID-19, the embassy saw it best to reach out and donate food to alleviate the situation.
The relation with Eswatini. This is why we like to, we are about the well-being of people here. My schedule is quite full this week, but when he told me, his honorable told me there are so many kids doesn't have food, so I decided to change my schedule. I come here as the first priority.
Member of Parliament of the Kubuta constituency, Mlamuli Mabuza, thanked the Taiwan Embassy for the donation.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Taiwanese Embassy for the kind gesture that they have come to give us here at Kubuta. We're having a serious challenge here, especially the kids, because as you know, there's this pandemic and most of the children, they are not schooling, they're at home. So here behind me, we've got 13 soup kitchen from 6 different chiefdoms here at Kubuta. So we've got plus minus 1,000 kids which are being fed by those women behind me.
Oliver Hahn says they are going to continue to reach out to other constituencies of the country. Over 300,000 Emaswati have gotten food donations from the government since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Sifiso Ngumalo with Smuva Shongwe, Kubuta.
We will now take a brief look at the COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health has reported 13 new confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country in the last 24 hours. In a statement issued by the Ministry for Health, a total of 346 results were received today, out of which 13 tested positive for coronavirus, bringing the total number of cases in the country to 5,955. The statement shows that there are 139 cases, recoveries are 5,686, deaths are 117, while those that are registered for care are 13. Looking at the cumulative confirmed COVID-19 cases by region, Manzini region has 2,667 cases, Hoho region has 2,257 cases, Lubombo region has 535 cases, and the Shiselweni region has 496 cases of coronavirus. And in our sports news today, the Minister for Sports, Harris Bulunga, says they're renovating the parts which made Somhlolo's National Stadium to be banned from hosting international games. The minister was speaking during a tour of the stadium to see the progress of the renovations.
The National Stadium Somhlolo was in a bad state, which forced the Football Governing Body and CAF to suspend the stadium from hosting any international games, as it was said to be of danger to those who are using it. The government of Eswatini then decided to rehabilitate the stadium, where the Minister for Sport, Harris Bulunga, said it will be done in phases. After over 6 months since the renovation started, the minister, together with the Sport Portfolio Committee in Parliament, decided to go check the progress of the renovations. The minister says the renovations aims at addressing what caused the stadium to be suspended from the first place.
We are also pleased to note that many of the issues that led to the stadium being banned from hosting international football games have been addressed, including the floodlights and now the dressing rooms. The addressing of these issues as priorities has been a concerted effort by government to put an end to the frustrations that our clubs and national teams have endured over this long period of the ban.
Member of the Portfolio Committee, Fulimbombi Nhleko, says this is still part of the King's 2022 vision of achieving first world status.
Sibonile kuhle kakhulu angikabati kusho ukuthi leli liphupho lengwenyama ukuthi ngeminyaka wa 2022 kufuna ukuthi tonke tintfo la leli tibe njengoba etinje.
Major improvements includes the dressing room upgrades, introduction of female referee change room, medical room, and doping control room. The first phase of the renovation is said to be at 90% done. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi, Lobamba.
National team head coach Dominic Kunene says they are well prepared for the game against Congo in the 2021 AFCON qualifiers. Kunene was speaking during the team's training session at the Somhlolo National Stadium in Lobamba.
The national team is hard in training, preparing for the all-important clash against Congo in the 2021 AFCON qualifiers. That will see the first leg played in Congo next week. The national team head coach, Dominic Kunene, addressing members of the media during the team's training session at the National Stadium, said they were ready for Congo.
Yes, besizama kuwabukela nabadlala nala sibatholile ama clips sibabukela abadlala nalabanye.
Kunene says they tried watching clips where Congo was playing, which made them realize that they will have to protect their goalpost more. After seeing how Congo attacked their opponent, and they realized that Congo is quick in attack, and his player seems to be responding very well on that.
Stalvikela lipalethu sihloniphe futhi ne game li ground lime vertical lime horizontal, so nasikwende lokho ayi ngicabanga.
Team captain Ndomkhona says they are ready as well.
Sibadlali ngicabanga ukuthi ingqondo yethu sesiswitch on kule game lesikiyo sinsangene campini.
Mkhonda says as players they have switched on, and it was never easy because they stayed over 5 months without kicking the ball, which made them struggle a bit when they started training. But now they are back to normal and they are ready for the game. The national team is expected to leave for Congo next week for the game that will be played on the 12th of November, and they will come back to play the second leg on the 15th of November at the Mavuso Sports Center in Manzini. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi, Lobamba.
We've come to the end of our news bulletin. But before we wrap up, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. Her Majesty the Queen Mother is back home. The Deputy Prime Minister has explained why the elderly were removed from the COVID-19 food relief program. The Minister of Agriculture has assured farmers that government is working on establishing an agriculture fund. Eswatini, that is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.
At Build It, you can do it with the ultimate workhorse. So load up at Build It and you could win one of 10 Nissan NP200 Buckies. Plus, over 380 Stanley toolkits up for grabs. Hurry, promotion ends 14 November. Build it.